There is no such thing as a failure. There are only learning experiences. I hate this expression. I think it sucks because it implies that failure is something bad, when I would argue that failing is something really, really good. Failing to me means daring to do something without being sure of the outcome. I mean, imagine a kid and he's trying to stand up for the very first time in his life. His legs are shaking and he falls over. Was it a good thing that he tried even though he failed? Of course. Or if you see someone in school, they're being bullied and someone is punching them. You're stepping in between and the only thing you manage to accomplish is being punched to the ground yourself. Was it a good thing or a bad thing that you tried, even though you failed? If you're starting a company and you have the best intentions possible, you work really hard, but you trust the wrong people and you end up being screwed over and go bankrupt. Did you do a bad thing you tried? Of course not. And you learned a lot from it. You dared and you learned. And then you can try it again. In this video I will tell you my view of failure, which I think you already figured out, and I'll give you a story about my worst failure. I'll tell you why it hurts so much to fail and why it actually doesn't matter if you do. So we're going back in time till I was 18 years old. Me and a couple of friends have arranged a few parties and they've been great successes. I was going to arrange a third party on my own. I don't really remember why I did it on my own, but somehow I did. So I talked to the nightclub, I spoke to the DJ, I invited everyone I knew and I told them all that this was going to be the best night yet. So the Friday finally arrived and I was standing by the door holding my guest list and welcoming the guests that came. The first ones that came, they walked into the bar, they saw everything around and they realized it was empty, so they left. Same happened with the next group of people. They came and they left, and the next one after that. I didn't manage to get anyone to stay. And a couple of hours before the night was over, I realized that this was going to be a complete disaster. I was devastated. I was so ashamed and I left in tears way before I was supposed to. Why did this failure hurt so much? Was it because the money I lost? Was it because the fact of a nightclub that was empty another night? No, of course not. It was because I was scared what people were thinking. I was scared of what people would say about me. I was horrified of the idea of failing. So the party was on a Friday, and on a Saturday I just left town. I was away until Sunday, but for Monday I had to come back. Dragging myself out of bed that morning to go to the shower and then to school was one of the toughest things I ever had done. I was so sure that people would be laughing and pointing and saying, "Oh, that's the failure." No one did. No one said anything. And do you know why? No one cares about your failures. If someone had a party at your school and no one showed up, would you care at all about that? Of course not. Your focus is on yourself, and that's for everyone else. So your failure will seem a lot bigger to you than it will to anyone else. So if the biggest reason for being scared of failing is what people would think, and people doesn't think about it, then there is nothing to be ashamed of, nothing to be scared of with failure. When I look back at this story, I do it with a smile and I see it as one of my life's greatest experiences. I see an 18-year-old boy who pulled himself together, rented a nightclub, arranged a lot of things and put himself out there. He failed and he learned from it. I remember the loyalty from my friend Olle, who took over all my responsibilities that night so I could leave early and just care about myself. I remember my ex-girlfriend who took me out of my hometown, drove to another city to go to Tivoli in the middle of the winter just to put a smile on my face. These are the things I remember from this. A couple of weeks ago I did a video on appreciation. I think that appreciation is one of the most important things there are, and I wrote down 3 things every day that I do. 3 things I appreciate. I do a similar exercise with failures. I don't write it down and I'm not as consistent, but I frequently ask myself, Eric, what have you failed with recently? And I do this because it reminds me that I dare to fail. I dare to put myself out there. I dare to try new things and I learn from it. It's great to do that. I even love failing so much that I've written down a little note in my phone. A note that says that once I have kids, I will ask them on a weekly basis what they have failed with, because I want to teach them that failing is something good. The one who fails the most will also be the one who succeeds the most. Because the more times that you fail, the more times you try, then the more times you will make it. That's simply how it works. So I'd like to encourage yourself to ask, what have I failed at recently? Or what did I learn from my biggest failures? Did anyone ever cared about them? Thank you very much for listening, and if you like this video or have a story like this, please share them below and I would be super happy to read them. Thank you.